So that's the beginning, and it's a 5.5 long lecture. Now my process is, as I said, I get a kind of wait, I'll show something else. How I get the voiceover, for example, from a lesson that it's about how writers, mostly in fantasy and science fiction, the way they think, the way they create worlds, the way they process. So for example, a little bit of the voiceover without...
Just like real life, fictional worlds operate consistently within a spectrum of physical and societal rules. That's what makes these intricate worlds believable, comprehensible, and worth exploring. Authors of science fiction and fantasy literally build worlds. They make rules, maps, lineages, languages, cultures, universes, alternate universes within universes, and from those worlds sprout story after story after story.
Okay, so for example, this the interpretation that I got to.
Just like real life, fictional worlds operate consistently within a spectrum of physical and societal rules. That's what makes these intricate worlds believable, comprehensible, and worth exploring. Authors of science fiction and fantasy literally build worlds. They make rules, maps, lineages, languages, cultures, universes, alternate universes within universes, and from those worlds sprout story after story after story. When it's done well, readers can understand fictional worlds and their rules just as well as the characters that live in them do, and sometimes just as well or even better than the reader understands the world outside of the book. Fantastical fictional worlds are created every day, in our minds, on computers, even on napkins at the restaurant down the street. The truth is, your imagination and a willingness to figuratively live in your own world are all you need to get started writing a novel.
Wow, I love it.
Thanks. For example, something totally different that was about the memory of elephant as a scientific fact, and other things about the mechanism, so that's a little sentence.
It's a common saying that elephants never forget. But these magnificent animals are more than giant walking hard drives.
So only a very simple sentence. I try to make it as much as alive as I can, because mostly this material is kind of dry.
It's a common saying that elephants never forget. But these magnificent animals are more than giant walking hard drives.
So that's an example for that, or a lesson that was about the way animals communicate, what kind of language do they have, so that's a sentence about chickens.
And displacement is the ability to talk about things that aren't right in front of you, such as past, future, or fictional events. So, does animal communication exhibit any of these qualities? And displacement is the ability to talk about things that aren't right in front of you, such as past, future, or fictional events. So, does animal communication exhibit any of these qualities?
So that's like a translation of that thing. Let's see something from a little bit the other way around, I think. Something, only the visual, to see if the visual works in a way without the voiceover. So that's from a lesson about animal system in nature and systems that are extinct but can be restored in some ways. There are ways to rewild nature, and that lesson talks about that. And I don't know, I was wondering if anything can get through the visual even without the voiceover.
And how is the process of, is it a good time to ask questions?
Yeah, always. I'm just going to show you a little bit of this scene as it is with the voiceover. But yeah, totally.
We all know about the dinosaurs that once roamed the planet, but long after they went extinct, great beasts we call the megafauna lived on every continent. There were armadillos as big as small cars, an 8-foot beaver, and a bird with a 26-foot wingspan. Most trees are able to re-sprout where their trunk is broken to withstand the loss of much of their bark and to survive splitting, twisting and trampling, partly because they evolved to survive attacks by elephants. We can restore bears, wolves, pumas, lynx, moose and bison to the places where they used to live. Some of these animals can reshape their surroundings, creating conditions that allow other species to thrive. When wolves were reintroduced to the Yellowstone National Park in 1995, they quickly transformed the ecosystem. Where they reduced the numbers of overpopulated deer, vegetation began to recover. The height of some trees quintupled in just 6 years. As forests returned, so did songbirds. Beavers and sheep trees multiplied in the rivers, and their dams provided homes for otters, muskrats, ducks, frogs and fish. So did bears, which also ate the berries on the returning shrubs. All over the world, new movements are trying to catalyze the restoration of nature in a process called rewilding.
But the thing is, I wanted also to show how you draw on the computer there, but
okay.
it doesn't connect for some reason.
Oh,
But
yes, because that's what I was going to ask. How is the process from your head when you, like,
it's
you
hard.
hear something and then you start imagining?
I'm going usually with very, very spontaneous ideas that comes to my head, and usually it's the first ones that I stay with. And I mean, there's a lot of things like that happen in animation, doing explanatory videos. So every animator, I guess, works very differently. I tend to find little stories and situations for things. I don't like so much to deal with objects or graphics or typography, sentences, to work with symbols. I tend to find kind of little stories and things. For example, there was a lesson about repetition, mostly in poetry, also by Ted. So those are a few sentences.
For a moment, focus on your breath. In slowly, out slowly. In slowly, out.
So that's what I get.
The same pattern repeats within every one of us. And consider your pulse. The beat is built into the very fabric of our being. Simply put, we're creatures of rhythm and repetition. It's central to our experience. Rhythm and repetition. Rhythm and repetition.
It's quite abstract in a way. And the first thing I do, and just to give an example as kind of a joke, I draw very quick sketches of stuff, whatever comes to my mind. So it can be a little bit
For a
like
moment,
that.
focus on your breath. In slowly, out slowly. In slowly, out. The same pattern repeats within every one of us. And consider your pulse. The beat is built into the very fabric of our being. Simply put, we're creatures of rhythm and repetition. It's central to our experience. Rhythm and repetition. Rhythm and repetition.
So that's how it can look at first, but really it's very simple things that come in mind. But mostly it's just, I find, and I don't know why I found exactly those kind of situations to show at the end. I mean, I'm thinking in this case about patterns, about things that can be in a cycle of breathing, all kind of things. So for this opening, the result is this one.
Oh.
Just for a moment, focus on your breath. In slowly, out slowly. In slowly, out. The same pattern repeats within every one of us. And consider your pulse. The beat is built into the very fabric of our being. Simply put, we're creatures of rhythm and repetition. It's central to our experience. Rhythm and repetition. Rhythm and repetition. On and in and on and out. And we delight in those aspects every day. In the rhythm of a song, the beat of the drum, the nod of your head, or in the repetition of soup cans, the rose of an orchard, the artistry of petals. Pattern can be pleasure.
So that's like a little bit about the process. And for example, another one, I'll show something a little bit differently. For example, this one.
Betsy and Xander are in a loving, committed relationship. Betsy is head over heels and has never felt happier. However, unbeknownst to Betsy, Xander has been romancing her sister Angelica with love letters and secret rendezvous for the duration of their relationship. If Betsy found out, it would destroy her relationships with both Xander and Angelica, and the experience would be so traumatic she would never love again. Since Betsy is in blissful ignorance about Xander's infidelity, hedonists would say she's better off remaining in the dark.
So that wasn't the soundtrack of this scene. It's the wrong soundtrack, but I wonder now when I prepare this if it works. I just picked another totally different video, and I wondered if it worked because the real one for this soundtrack is this one.
Betsy and Xander are in a loving, committed relationship. Betsy is head over heels and has never felt happier. However, unbeknownst to Betsy, Xander has been romancing her sister Angelica with love letters and secret rendezvous for the duration of their relationship. If Betsy found out, it would destroy her relationships with both Xander and Angelica, and the experience would be so traumatic she would never love again. Since Betsy is in blissful ignorance about Xander's infidelity, hedonists would say she's better off remaining in the dark and maintaining her high level of net pleasure. As long as Betsy never finds out about the relationship, her life is guaranteed to go on as happily as it is right now.
And the Japanese story is from the lesson about why we love, which was a long one with a lot of historical, this one.
Chin illustrated this Buddhist sentiment that romantic love is folly in one of China's greatest classical novels, Dream of the Red Chamber. In a subplot, Jia Rei falls in love with Xi Feng, who tricks and humiliates him. Conflicting emotions of love and hate tear him apart, so a Taoist gives him a magic mirror that can cure him as long as he doesn't look at the front of it. But of course, he looks at the front of it. He sees Xi Feng. His soul enters the mirror and he is dragged away in iron chains to die.
So that's the
Huge value placed on
right one with this one. And another example maybe, there was a lesson about why we are attached to our objects, kind of ages and places in our lives. So
that have been owned by celebrities. It's as if the buyers believed the objects they purchased were somehow imbued with the essence of their former celebrity owners. For similar reasons, many of us are reluctant to part with family heirlooms, which help us feel connected to lost loved ones.
So the translation, the visual translation for that one.
Huge value placed on items that have been owned by celebrities. It's as if the buyers believed the objects they purchased were somehow imbued with the essence of their former celebrity owners. For similar reasons, many of us are reluctant to part with family heirlooms, which help us feel connected to lost loved ones. These beliefs can even alter our perception of the physical world and change our athletic abilities. Sometimes our
maybe another one from the objects. I think this one is without voiceover first.
Sometimes our attachment to our things can go too far. Part of the cause of hoarding disorder is an exaggerated sense of responsibility and protectiveness toward one's belongings. That's why people with this condition find it so difficult to throw anything away. What remains to be seen today is how the nature of our relationship with our possessions will change with the rise of digital technologies. Many have forecast the demise of physical books and music, but for now at least, this seems premature. Perhaps there will always be something uniquely satisfying about holding an object in our hands and calling it our own.
So that's also was from the object, and maybe this one to show again something. I think first only the visual, and to see if it communicates without the original voiceover. Can you feel from the visual what kind of attitude is it about?
Like hypocrisy or the seven sins?
Well, it's about cynicism.
Or does cynicism has a distinct kind of glamour? It sounds pretty tough not to have too many hopes and to claim to be able to see through the dreams of others. Cynics will tell you that everyone is selfish and weak, that the system is rigged and driven by greed, that you can never succeed, so it's pointless and contemptible to try, that all ideals are ridiculous, and that do-gooders are only out to show off their own supposed virtues. It's hopeless to try to disprove cynicism. There will always be an abundance of vivid examples to back up a catastrophic interpretation of humanity. But what identifies people as cynics is not so much what they claim as why they do so. Their downbeat assessments are based not on a dispassionate analysis of our species, but on an inner emotional compulsion. Their philosophy is, first and foremost, a defense against suffering. Beneath their gruff surface, cynics are afflicted by a near hysterical fragility around the idea of expecting anything which turns out to be less impressive than they'd hoped. And so they twist their mental apparatus to secure themselves against the eventuality of any discouragement. They
But if you want, I can show maybe I'll show something different, very, very different that I did once. I'll show it without the ending first, and then I'll tell you what it is. That's a little spot that I got to do from a company that they wanted videos for their app, and they have an app, a Catholic app, for praying, to get 3 times a day a prayer, a different prayer that you have to stop with all you're doing and relax and have a prayer, Catholic prayer. They gave the Jewish guy from Israel to do that, and that's supposed to be the ending. Maybe I will show one, a different one that I didn't talk about, complete, because it's not long. It's not from that, it's from a project called School of Life.
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's the first one.
Forget that you might ever have done anything wrong yourself. things personally. That computer broke down to be me. Constantly compare your existence with that of the happiest, most fortunate people you know. Expect that there cannot ever be traffic and that household keys simply can't go missing. Build up isolated frustrations into giant, interconnected narratives of persecution. Become very sensitive to noise, then move to a city where a lot of people are taking advantage of rising property prices to redo their homes. Start to notice fingerprints on walls, chipped plates and towels on bathroom floors. See these as personal insults. Be sure not to get enough sleep, but never attribute your moods to tiredness. Expect children to be grateful. Compare your relationship to the happiest couple that the media is choosing to tell us about at the moment. Attribute most issues in your life to the mendacity and short-sightedness of your partner and their family. Avoid perspective and never look at NASA images of distant galaxies. Find a YouTube channel or news outlet that you're almost certain to dislike. Watch some videos and read articles and feel very irritated by the presentation of views you strongly disagree with. Never watch others getting angry. Fail to see how absurd they can seem. Develop a faith that fury is in some ways quite impressive, macho, and makes stuff happen. Take yourself seriously, and yet deep down, hate who you are. Think of laughter as a luxury you can't afford.
So that's a short one. Any questions? There's one that I got once from a musician in the US that wanted to know about her husband. Her husband talks in sleep and she sometimes recorded herself making the conversation afterwards. And one of these little conversations she recorded, she wanted to make into a film.
Who are you? I asked. Just some bloke you met, he said. Oh, who are you really? You don't just some bloke, you're special. No, there's millions like me, he said. Millions. And I said, well, where are they? And he said, well, I don't know. And I said, no, really, you've been all over the world. If there's millions like you, where are they? And he said, behind the trees. I said, which trees? All the trees? I said, no, I don't think so, Neil. I think you're unique and know that all behind the trees they're all waiting to come out. And I said, when are they going to come out? When they've decided it's okay. And then I said, well, if they're all like you, and they're all behind trees, but you've come out of the tree and you're in the middle, what are they doing back there? Because then they're not actually like you. I'm the first, he said. Okay, so you're like a pioneer. Yes, he said. And any day now, they're going to come out. They're a bit scared. They're like the red-headed lady. We're not quite sure about her. And I said, sounds a lot like you. Well, of course it does. They're me. Yeah, but you came out. They're behind the trees. You're not behind the tree. You're out from behind the tree. I don't care. I don't think anything is behind the trees.
once I got to do, there was a recorded radio interview that was made a lot of years ago with a woman that was very famous of researching chimpanzees in Africa. Her name is John Goodwell, and she was interviewed and was of course on the radio, so we did kind of a visual translation of that.
Animals were my passion from even before I could speak. Then when I was about 10, 11, I found the books about Tarzan. Fell in love with Tarzan.
Luego podemos ver la de Why Do We Love.
The what?
La de, if we could watch later only one about Why Do We Love.
You want to show it, to see it completely? The complete one? Why do we love? Where is it?
It's down there by repetition.
Okay, so I will show you this one first.
Romantic love, beautiful and intoxicating, heartbreaking and soul-crushing, often all at the same time. Why do we choose to put ourselves through its emotional ringer? Does love make our lives meaningful, or is it an escape from our loneliness and suffering? Is love a disguise for our sexual desire, or a trick of biology to make us procreate? Is it all we need? Do we need it at all? If romantic love has a purpose, neither science nor psychology has discovered it yet. But over the course of history, some of our most respected philosophers have put forward some intriguing theories. Love makes us whole again. The ancient Greek philosopher Plato explored the idea that we love in order to become complete. In his Symposium, he wrote about a dinner party at which Aristophanes, a comic playwright, regales the guests with the following story. Humans were once creatures with 4 arms, 4 legs, and 2 faces. One day they angered the gods, and Zeus sliced them all in 2. Since then, every person has been missing half of him or herself. Love is the longing to find a soulmate who will make us feel whole again. Or at least that's what Plato believed a drunken comedian would say at a party. Love tricks us into having babies. Much later, German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer maintained that love, based in sexual desire, was a voluptuous illusion. He suggested that we love because our desires lead us to believe that another person will make us happy, but we are sorely mistaken. Nature is tricking us into procreating, and the loving fusion we seek is consummated in our children. When our sexual desires are satisfied, we are thrown back into our tormented existences, and we succeed only in maintaining the species and perpetuating the cycle of human drudgery. Sounds like somebody needs a hug. Love is escape from our loneliness. According to the Nobel Prize-winning British philosopher Bertrand Russell, we love in order to quench our physical and psychological desires. Humans are designed to procreate, but without the ecstasy of passionate love, sex is unsatisfying. Our fear of the cold, cruel world tempts us to build hard shells to protect and isolate ourselves. Love's delight, intimacy, and warmth helps us overcome our fear of the world, escape our lonely shells, and engage more abundantly in life. Love enriches our whole being, making it the best thing in life. Love is a misleading affliction. Siddhartha Gautama, who became known as the Buddha or the Enlightened One, probably would have had some interesting arguments with Russell. Buddha proposed that we love because we are trying to satisfy our base desires. Yet, our passionate cravings are defects, and attachments, even romantic love, are a great source of suffering. Luckily, Buddha discovered the Eightfold Path, a sort of program for extinguishing the fires of desire so that we can reach nirvana, an enlightened state of peace, clarity, wisdom, and compassion. The novelist Chao Shui-chin illustrated this Buddhist sentiment that romantic love is folly in one of China's greatest classical novels, Dream of the Red Chamber. In a subplot, Zhao Rei falls in love with Xi Feng, who tricks and humiliates him. Conflicting emotions of love and hate tear him apart, so a Taoist gives him a magic mirror that can cure him, as long as he doesn't look at the front of it. But of course, he looks at the front of it. He sees Xi Feng. His soul enters the mirror, and he is dragged away in iron chains to die. Not all Buddhists think this way about romantic and erotic love, but the moral of this story is that such attachments spell tragedy and should, along with magic mirrors, be avoided. Love lets us reach beyond ourselves. Let's end on a slightly more positive note. The French philosopher Simone de Beauvoir proposed that love is the desire to integrate with another, and that it infuses our lives with meaning. However, she was less concerned with why we love, and more interested in how we can love better. She saw that the problem with traditional romantic love is it can be so captivating that we are tempted to make it our only reason for being. Yet dependence on another to justify our existence easily leads to boredom and power games. To avoid this trap, Beauvoir advised loving authentically, which is more like a great friendship. Lovers support each other in discovering themselves, reaching beyond themselves, and enriching their lives and the world together. Though we might never know why we fall in love, we can be certain that it'll be an emotional roller coaster ride. It's scary and exhilarating. It makes us suffer and makes us soar. Maybe we lose ourselves. Maybe we find ourselves. It might be heartbreaking, or it might just be the best thing in life. Will you dare to find out?
You want to see more? You don't have to. Well,
It's very relaxing.
Yeah, it's relaxing? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I know which one. What? This is a lesson about, it's not a lesson, it's another client, but they recorded people saying what they do to release stress.
So I'm doing this story for NPR, essentially about what causes people stress, but really more so about how they relieve stress.
I have a lot of stress in my life right now, but at the same time I'm enjoying a lot of, simple things that makes me feel that everything's okay.
Well, I listen a lot, helps. And I'll take a selfie, then maybe I'll delete it, but
Well, to get rid of stress, I get on the motorcycle and go for a ride. You have to clear your mind of everything else so you don't get yourself killed. That does it for me.
A hot bath and a pedicure. A sigh of relief. Knowing whatever's on the outside of the door isn't in there with you at that moment.
Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo.
Listening to my son laugh.
I'm an urban beekeeper. So I put the earphones on and if I'm not careful, I lose myself. I stay there for hours, so.
Chocolate. And sewing, crafting,
things that will take my mind off of schoolwork, anything like that. Just whenever you feel down, it's just like chocolate's there, makes you feel happy. Mostly because of all the scientific properties and stuff. Science.
Spending time at the ocean with very old high school friends.
A cup of coffee in the morning. And if that doesn't work, you know, sometimes for me, I like the silence. I just like a nice, peaceful place. That helps an awful lot too.
There's a school of life about rejection after a breakup.
Being dropped. It will happen to us all at some point. So negotiating the pain with a measure of reason belongs to the art of living. A number of tips suggest themselves. Firstly, don't attempt to minimize what's happened. Being brave has no place here. Allow your sadness so much room, so much time, so many melancholic songs, hot baths and indulgent meals, you eventually bore yourself back into an appetite for life. Secondly, believe them when they said it. Don't imagine that their past sweetness and kind words provides any covert indications of future commitment. Kill any remaining hope yourself if they didn't quite have the courage to do so themselves. Don't imagine that anyone can love on command. The capacity to feel attracted lies outside the will. It isn't a question of them not trying hard enough. Remove morality from it. They were not being bad for not loving, and nor were you good for wanting them. You were both on the search for pleasure, but took you down different and conflicting routes. Our conscious minds ride like tiny boats on the swells of unconscious, psychoanalytic and biological seas. So don't turn this into a morality tale. They acted weirdly around the breakup, not because they were bad or indeed unsure, they just felt terribly guilty, because they're nice, which doesn't, though, mean that they want you. Many of us are predisposed to think especially well of people who don't want us. It feeds into our reserves of self-hatred. But this isn't romanticism, it's an illness. The true challenge is to stop being so revolted by people who do in fact want us, and so admiring of those who don't. Think back to when you rejected people. You didn't hate them or regret them. The chief emotions were embarrassment and pity. Don't connect up the rejection with everything you fear and hate about being you. Don't accuse them of cowardice. Don't exaggerate their qualities. Don't insist on their uniqueness. Don't offer them sex in the hope of changing their mind. Don't imagine that people can fall back in love with someone out of pity or of guilt. And don't offensively maintain that they had a fear of intimacy. Just try to laugh and have a few rounds of casual sex if that helps. But above all, don't keep thinking of the end of this relationship as tragically sad. The only good relationship, the only relationship worth mourning, would be one to which two people desperately wanted to belong. And this wasn't, in the end, despite all the promising signs, that kind of relationship at all.
And the rest you can see in my website. You want another? You want something? Any questions? Any suggestions?
What? That I want. Why do we know we already seen it?
But we watched that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot like that, but I guess that's enough for one time.
How long does it take you to make one? Like why do we know?
A few weeks, up to a month.
Wow.
Something like that. Yeah.
So that's the result of one.
Yeah. Usually I work on two maybe at the same time, not finishing them at the same time, but yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did you ever have to create something that you were not 100% like in agreement with?
Like ideologically?
Well, ideologically, or you didn't really connect to the message, or you just didn't really.
I don't know if I did anything with a specific message that I didn't agree with. Some of the lessons that I didn't take wasn't interesting really for me, and it's a job.
Yeah.
But I didn't take something. I don't remember if. No, I was suggested all kind of project not connected with that, but I said no because it was. I felt it was garbage in a way. And I never did commercials. Not that I was so much offered to do, but yeah, sometimes I was offered things that I felt this is not for me. All kind of startup companies that wanted something to explain something. It didn't feel content enough. But yeah, I did lessons for them that I just wasn't interested in, and I try not to do that anymore. I reject a lot of scripts that they give me because I feel that I did enough of this kind of thing sometimes. No, not silo. I don't remember something drastic.
So it's probably very, very hard to create in a context that is like, conflicted to you in a way. No,
What do you mean conflicted?
Like, okay, so for me, for example, I used to work as an innovation consultant, and sometimes I had to work on, I was hired to work on projects, and then along the way, I found out that they were problematic and they were not going to succeed. And that was it was really hard to work on them when you don't believe in them.
Yeah.
No, I still don't know. Sorry, raw through.
I guess, and that was just writing and developing business plans for that.
Yeah, I guess I don't know so much about these things because those are not a product.
Yeah.
And the process is kind of quick. I'm not with something for half a year. And again, it's not a product. It's to speak about a subject, to speak about something very specific, which is supposed to be educational. I just feel sometimes that their lesson, their text are not interesting enough, or not going deep enough, or a little bit dry, and that's also the challenge. To try to lift it up a little bit. And you can see on their channel there's so many lessons with other animators with different kind of approaches to how to show things. It's totally different things.
What do you do to relieve stress?
To relieve stress, I go to swim, I go on my bike, I go to the beach. Yeah, I don't know, a lot of things. Very simple things. I had a beer.
That's what I was missing in that video. Someone just saying, I'll just go and have a beer with friends to relax.
This one I did as a look about childhood once. There was this website so that's kind of animation that can repeat and repeat and repeat all the time. Yeah, I did a lot of things just about Barcelona and my life here when I came to live here. I took videos and then I did something with them. I took this video from my terrace. saw them I saw them with the telephone looking at something. I didn't understand what they're looking at. Well, yeah, let's go and see if something interesting is going on somewhere.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you for coming for this internet presentation.